These are going to be the siman there. Hilchas Chaver Kazayas Maru Korkov and Siman are halachas of Rabbi Yitzchak. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. He's not on here.
Yes, Rabbi Yehuda was a Tana, obviously.
Yeah.
Tana
It's a Rabbi Akiva. His father was Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Eily, was the famous student of Rabbi Akiva.
The lion.
He was buried right outside Tzfas.
Wasn't there a story with a lion on it?
What was the lion?
He rode on the lion.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
He was very poor. His students would sit with six students with one talis.
So poor.
So Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says the name of Rabbi Yochanan, halacha Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha is like Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, which means that if there's a hole in the mara, it's treif. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Maya Hadrele Chabri le Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. What do the friends say when they say that it's kosher? If there's a hole in the mara, they say like this: Yishpech laretz mararti va. You have the vowels here. Yishpech laretz mirei rasi. He says he pours out my gall onto the ground. This was by Eily, but so that means it was a hole in his gall. Eily was suffering, but Va'adayini of Kaim, Eily was still alive. That means that he can live.
Could be he was removed.
Yeah, but it poured out. So Amalahem ein maskin ma'asin, and that was a miracle, because God gave permission to Satan to torture Eily, to torment him, but not to kill him. So you had to keep him alive. If you're not going to say that was a miracle, how do you read this? Yifalach Kilyosai V'layachmal. That means that he wounded my kidneys, and he didn't have compassion. Mikachaya, would he be able to live with these unhealthy kidneys? Ela Nisashani. It must be that it was a miracle, and that's different. It's very interesting because we had before it's machlekes with the kidneys. It's not so pashut. Kol yachas, that was Rafish Bar Papa. Maybe we didn't have to accept that. Okay. The Taisus discusses that. Va'amar. Just 1 second. Okay. Va'amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Halachic divrei mekazayas. This doesn't get introduced properly. There was the Mishnah mentioned that if the liver is removed, the animal is not the treifa.
No.
If there's a little bit left of the liver,
Enough
only if
to
it's
live, enough to stay alive.
well, it says if it's entirely removed, it's a treifa. But if there's a little bit left, then it's fine. So the problem is that our Mishnah says Nitla hakaved v'lo yeshtayim mimena klum. There's nothing left. However, on Daf Nun Daled, on 54, page 54, it gives us the opposite. It says these are kosher, and it says if the liver was removed and there's a kazayas left. They're contradictory statements, because here it sounds like it's kosher if there's a drop left. Here it's only a kazayas. So Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, the halacha is that it needs to be a kazayas. Did Rabbi Yochanan really say so? Rabbi Yochanan halacha stam mishnah, and we have a stam mishnah. Our mishnah is a stam mishnah. Problem is the other one's also a stam mishnah. But whatever the case is, we'd have to say at least that it's a suffix, because we have contradictory stam mishnah, anonymous mishnayos. Rabbi Yochanan says that the way Rabbi organized the mishnah is that if it's anonymous, that means that that's the halacha. So we have two anonymous mishnayos that are contradictory. It should only be a suffix. It shouldn't be that it's definitely a treifa if you don't have a kazayas left. Utanan nitla kavod v'lein shtayim klum. The Mishnah says that if nothing is left of the liver, Hanishtaya ksheira, but if there is something left, it's kosher. Afagav le'avi kazayas, even though it's not an olive size. The Gemara says, "Amarayin in avali b'der Rabbi Yochanan." It's not so simple that Rabbi Yochanan said halacha kistam mishnah. This affects so many Gemaras. There's so many Gemaras that say Amar Rabbi Yochanan halacha kistam mishnah, and here we say it's a machlekes. Yes.
Just two interjections. One on the liver. All right, the alcoholic, as he gets to the end of his life, you hear the term cirrhosis. He scarred the liver. Again, a person can't live without a liver. But as long as there's a little liver left, he's still alive. So I'm just saying, so that kind of goes with here. The other thing is the differentiation between the hole in the gallbladder and the holes everywhere else, but the hole in the gallbladder is never, if somebody has yenemachlis, cancer of the pancreas, or some obstruction to the gallbladders, putting bile into the system, the way they treat it, at least they're not curing it, is they put in a stent and let the bile go around the obstruction. So technically they're putting a hole in the gallbladder and just letting it go somewhere else. So obviously a hole in the gallbladder itself should not nullify the gallbladder. I mean, let's say it may be in those days naturally just, a hole went and then made a fistula to another organ, its own stent.
That's not a hole.
Well, you need a straw has a hole in it. You have to make a hole, and then I'm just connecting it with a tube. What?
Yeah, you'll see something interesting in a moment.
The next one is going to talk.
This is supposed to be Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Mara shenikva. If there's a hole in the gall, the kavod seismas in the liver, blocks off the hole because the liver is right next to the gall, so it could actually close it up naturally, and so that's ksheira. Now, we didn't mention if the whole gall is missing. We only said if there's a hole in it. It's machlekes in the Rishonim. The Rishonim say that it's possible that the gall is still functioning somehow, but that the liver has some of the bile on the sides of it or something, and that's allowing that's allowing it to function. They say that if you could taste the liver, you stick out your tongue and you lick the liver, and it tastes like the bile, then that's kosher. So the shach, the poskim discussed.
And what if
it was treif? If it was treif, how'd you taste it? How'd you taste it? You're not allowed to taste. No, you're not allowed to taste because a taste of treif. So the taste of treif. That's a good discussion. The taste of treif on the tongue is also a problem.
Really?
Yeah. So the shach says that since the majority of the time it's going to be kosher.
Wow.
So you're allowed to rely on that and to taste it.
Yummy.
There are certain birds that don't have a mara. So what's going to be there is a concept that if one species can live without it, then the other ones should be kosher as well, if it's missing. So they wanted to say that maybe because some birds don't have a gall, so that should be all birds should be kosher without a gall.
Human beings. As soon as you have your gallbladder taken out, you live without it.
Right. But they say that that's not necessarily the case, because even though we say this by animals, that if one animal can live without it, the other ones should also. By the birds, we say each bird is a different, independent species, different than animals. That's what they say. Okay. If there's two galls, then they check if they can pour into each other. If they can pour one to another, then it's considered as one. In other words, you would empty one out and then squeeze the other one, see if it ends up in there. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Nikev HaKorkaban. This is the gizzard. This is the stomach of the bird, of the pupik. It squeezes, and when the bird eats rocks as well, and it squeezes. This is it over here. So the outer part is this muscle. The inside is just like this case, a thick skin, and it squeezes it.
Korkaban?
The korkaban.
Korkaban.
This is a famous joke. They asked where the Rabbi was learning about this, but he didn't know the inside of the chicken. So they brought him a chicken that had a hole in some part of the inside. He said, if it's a kurkaban, then it's going to be kosher. But if it's a liver, then it's going to be... He didn't know he knows the halacha, he doesn't know what it is. So, okay. So if there's a hole in the kurkaban, the kishalei kayam. Kurkaban would mean the outer muscle. However, the inner membrane is still intact, that's kosher. Ibaylo, the yeshiva has a question. Nikavakis, let's say there's a hole in this inner membrane. The kurkaban kayam, but the outer muscle is intact. What's it in? The Tashima, come and listen. Damar Rav Nachman says, Nikav zeh b'lo zeh kosher. If one has a hole without the other one, it's kosher. So that's our answer. As long as one of them is intact. The one of the signs of a kosher bird is if the inner skin can be peeled off. So the skin of the stomach could be peeled off. That's a sign that it's a kosher bird. Amar Rabba, Shnei Eres Yesh Leveshet. There's two skins on the esophagus. Chitzon Edem, the outer skin is red, membrane. Pnimi Lavan, and the inner one is white. Nikav Zebelezeh, if one of them has a hole in it, the inner or the outer, then it's kosher, because the other one will fill it in. The Gemara asks, why do you have to tell me the colors? The description here, that the outer one is red and the inner one is white. Gemara says, Dichalef treifa, because if it was inside out, then it's a treifa. Iboilu, they have a question. Let's say there's a hole in each of them, but it's not corresponding. Mahu, what's the din? So Amar Marzutra Mishmeder Rav Papa. Marzutra says in the name of Rav Papa. Rav Papa's towards the end of the Amiran. Beveshet kosher. If it's in the esophagus, that's kosher. However, bekurkaban it's possible. In the kurkaban it's a problem. In the gizzard it's a problem. Maskefla Ravashi, the very end, asks Marzutra, you see he's on the side, Marzutra's on the side of Ravashi. He says, Adarabba, on the contrary, it should be the opposite. Beishet ta'achlabei, in the esophagus, he eats with it. Upa'abei, he calls with it. Ravach, it stretches. Gamdalei, it squeezes. Upashtalei, and it stretches again. Zimnin demahandazin, bahadi adadi. Sometimes it will align one with the other. And so therefore the holes will match up exactly where, and so that should be worse. Kurkaban, however, the gizzard, the menachem kedekoi kai, it stays right there. Yes, it contracts, but it's not moving in the same way that the esophagus is, where it could get stretched. So, Amalei Ravacha Breder Rav Yisrael Ravashi Hachaminim Shmeid Marzutra Damar Shmeid Rav Papa Kavaseich. You're correct. We actually have a statement from Marzutra that says the name of Rav Papa the way you said it, that by the esophagus it's a problem and by the gizzard it's not a problem. V'amar Rabba, krum shalamach masmaka beveshadena krum. If there's a scar tissue, that doesn't help. If there was a hole once in the esophagus, and then there's a growth, a scar tissue that grew over it, that healed it, that's not good, because we assume that it's going to tear. Now, Rashi over here says, don't compare this to those other things we said, that there's a part of the animal that covers it over, and that's he said, because that was there originally. The Tersi Kusiel, Rabbi Fall Hamburger, he wrote that according to Rashi, that says that the issue is that it's going to fall off, is that if you can do a surgery that will heal it, then it's not a problem. Because Rashi's whole issue is just that the scar tissue is not going to last. But we can do today surgeries that can make it last.
So you can take
so you can bring it back. Rashi could have said differently. Rashi could have said you can't kosherize a treifa once it's a treifa. Rashi didn't say that. Rashi says that the tissue is not going to hold. But if you can get it to hold, it will be fine. The only problem with this Teres Yikasil,
You
and
could do that for all the youth fest trade.
right,
You can kasher it all up.
right. The only problem is that's what he's saying.
Only know what kind of
The only problem is it says that Stima Mi'ikara, that the other ones were there
Oh
originally.
my God,
That
I can't
contradicts
afford that
us.
kind of stuff. Kidding me?
Rabbi, let's just turn the page. V'amar Rabba veishet ein lebedikim machutz elam mibifnim. Rabba says that you can't check the veishet from the outside. You can only check it from the inside. Remember, the outside was red, and here, if there's blood on the outside, you can't see it. L'may nafkamina. What's the difference? When would this be relevant? L'safik jusa. If it's a safik jusa, in other words, an animal put its claws through it, and so you won't be able to check it from the outside. You have to check the inside if it went through the inside, because the inside is white. We'll go through this tomorrow.
Tomorrow I'll be traveling. I need somebody with a phone. Who's going to be here tomorrow?
We'll be up on his channel.